Listen to him. He knows everything.
The Clash popularised the refrain, "I fought the law, and the law won." This used to be a common phenomenon when Dixon ruled Dock Green, but not anymore. Now it'd be more like, "I fought the law, and the law was too busy filling out a risk assessment form to show up. And if crime does come knocking on their door, they move house." Literally. A police chief actually moved to another part of town rather than tackle a bunch of yobs sitting on his wall. He said it made him nervous. I'm not making that up. How does he think we feel? Meanwhile, in Norwich, the tables have been turned, and it's youngsters that are disapproving of adults' behaviour. In a move of some brilliance, speeders in school areas are escaping points on their licence if they submit to a telling off by children. Having the potential victims of bad driving put their case to speeders brings home the consequences of their actions, and drivers are reporting feeling shamed and embarrassed about their wrong deeds, and state that they are much less likely to speed again than if they'd received an anonymous fine, which would have simply made them more angry. And angry drivers tend to go faster. It's genius. Coming face to face with the kids also brings home to these drivers the enormous damage that could be done to their cars by hitting one of them, being as they are, for the most part, the size of the Goodyear blimp. A quarter of 5-year-olds and fully a third of 10-year-olds in this country are obese. Wobbling around like jelly on springs with all the grace of a shop walrus, at least they're not hard to see. Put them in a high-vis jacket and you'd need sunglasses to look at them. I'm not saying they're fat, but their blood type is gravy. I'm not saying the kids today are fat, but they use a pie as a clock. I'm not saying they're fat, but when they jump in the air, they get stuck. I'm not saying children are fat these days, but they wake up in sections. I'm not saying that children are fat, but most of them look like they're smuggling a Volkswagen. I could go on. There's just so many of them. On and on and on we could go, but I won't. I'll restrain myself. Front page of the Daily Telegraph was excellent. The Matt cartoon. Give that man a gong, a badge of some sort. He makes me laugh out loud more days than not. Two ladies enjoying a cup of tea and some biscuits. Nice old dears, mummies they are. One says to the other, "You have 3 children, how lovely. And what are they? Obese or drunk?" Wouldn't it be great to have a job like that? You just have to come up with one joke per day. He must get paid a fortune, that bloke. Ah, lovely cup of tea.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, there's all sorts of things I'd like to discuss tonight. Boris Johnson is one of them. Apparently he's had a personality change. This has been noticed by the Times newspaper. Linford Christie. Should we do that now? All right, then. Disgraced athlete Linford Christie was today dramatically dropped from the Olympic torch procession. Now, I'm not sure whether that's accurate, whether he was dropped or whether he just pulled out because of all the publicity that's surrounding this event. The drugs, well, this is the Evening Standard. They say the drugs cheat had been invited by Mayor Ken Livingstone's office to carry the torch when it comes to London before this summer's Beijing Games. And there's some question about that. Did Mayor Ken invite him or did he not? But the decision provoked outrage in the Olympic world. After crisis talks this morning, Christie was dumped from the event. Linford Christie, this is a quote, has made it clear he will not be participating in the torch relay, a spokesman for the Greater London Authority said. Now, that suggests that Linford Christie pulled out, that he wasn't dumped. But the story is that it happened the other way around. Can you turn that TV away from me? Because I'll just sit here and my brain will stop and I'll watch TV. I'll open a nice bottle of wine and spark up a cigar. What are you eating, Raj? Always eating.
Pasta.
Pasta. Christie, 47, received a lifetime ban by the British Olympic Association in 1999 for using steroids. And here's my take on steroids. If they look like they're taking steroids, they're taking steroids. If they finish the race inside 10 seconds and everybody else finishes the race by next Tuesday, they're taking steroids. If they look like they are, they are. You can tell from a mile away. You can tell from space. You could Google map them, and it would show up like a bright spot. If it looks as though their skin doesn't come in their size, as though they're about to explode through their dermis, then they're taking steroids. If you can see the striations of muscles in their face, and that's really horrible, I've seen that, that is repellent, then they're taking steroids. And these days, I don't know about you, but if to me, if they're taking part in the Olympics, I just assume they are. It's athletics and all those events that surround it. It's kind of like downhill skiing. In that, the person with the best wax wins. Because you just clamp some bloke with thighs the size of tree trunks to two pieces of wood, and you point him down a hill that no sane person would negotiate, and he pushes himself off. It doesn't look like much skill is required, other than just being able to stand up. So it's the wax on the bottom of the skis that makes all the difference. I mean, presumably they're all, much of a muchness in their abilities at that level. And you'd have to say that, it's not true that you'd have to say, but this is what I believe, that in the world of professional sports, it's the person who has the best drugs that wins. And that's been shown to be the case time and time again. I mean, it used to be such that Eastern European women who did the shot put not only didn't resemble women, they barely resembled anything from the human race. Huge they were. In fact, the JCB actually modelled some of their diggers on them. You aware of that? Hideous. They had a bigger one than I do. Anyway, Linford Christie. The International Olympic Committee said it was surprised and disappointed by the invitation, and Colin Moynihan, the chairman of the British Olympic Association, condemned his involvement. But Nick Ferrari, I was listening to Nick this morning, and he was saying that last time around he was an Olympic torchbearer. Nick Ferrari has never knowingly taken steroids, nor, to my knowledge, has he ever knowingly competed at the Olympics. Has he? Particularly recently. So, maybe Linford Christie should be allowed to take part just as a personality, rather than as an ex-sports person. Because if Nick is allowed to do it, then anybody should be allowed. What was Nick's... was it that he is, London's best breakfast show host? Or does he have some connection with sport that I'm not aware of?
I think he was unofficially called Mr. London, wasn't he?
Right. So that's it. A personality. Well, Linford Christie's a personality. And did Nick Ferrari get a urine test before he carried the torch? Well, no, because it's irrelevant. But it does send, here comes that phrase, the wrong message. And as much as anybody is listening to a message that anybody in power gives, that you'd have to agree that is rather the wrong message, that somebody has been banned from competing in the Olympics for life should be carrying the Olympic torch. They shouldn't be allowed within spitting distance of it. You'd think. The dumping of Christie is also a huge embarrassment for the mayor. In a statement, and this is where it gets curious. Mr. Livingston said he was not behind the invitation and it had been a mistake by his officials. Right, so in other words, according to Ken Livingstone, according to the Evening Standard, according to Ken Livingstone, he had nothing to do with it, and he didn't intend to invite Linford Christie, and it was all an error on somebody else's part. That's what Ken said. That's what the Evening Standard says that Ken says. And you have to remember that the Evening Standard is in dispute with Ken. This is a long-running dispute now. In much the same way that a lot of the press seems to be in dispute with Ken. They seem to have left him alone, pretty much, to his own devices, for years, decades, that he hasn't really, his name hasn't been raised by the evil media. And now it's as though they sent the smell of blood and they're all going in for the kill. Because in paper after paper that would normally not bother themselves with London's local politics because there's bigger fish to fry, they seem to be all after Ken. Isn't that bizarre? Almost as though they've had a little huddle, a meeting over, a few glasses of Nambutol, I don't know, and decided that his time has come. Anyway, so that was Mayor Ken's statement. Nothing to do with me, Governor, he said. However, Linford Christie, his management, said Linford was delighted to be invited by Ken Livingstone. to participate in the Olympic torch relay in a letter dated the 15th of November 2007. So someone's not being fully clear with the facts. Or maybe everyone's confused. I know I am. 7:44. LBC Travel with Alan Joyce.
Thanks, Nick. The A13 is still complete.
If I say a few words, thank you.
The number 0845 6060 973. I found this a bit disturbing and also illuminating. It's about CCTV cameras in notorious underpass. Sexual assaults on 2 women in an underpass were not captured on new CCTV cameras because contractors had been refused permission to plug them in. The cameras cost £150,000 of your money, which were meant to reassure locals using the tunnel at Gants Hill Tube Station in East London, mate, were installed in May last year. Gants Hill, how far out's that?
Essex Way.
Essex, right, way out. But since then, since it was installed, but not plugged in, 13 of them have remained unplugged because contractors do not have the, guess what? That's right, relevant health and safety qualifications to complete the task. These are people who put this stuff in for a living. Last month, 2 women were sexually assaulted in the underpass just after 6:30 a.m. No cameras are believed to have filmed the attacks. Today, Redbridge Council claimed Transport for London, which bought the cameras and owns the subway, has ignored more than 30 letters pleading for access to the power box. Mark Aaron, the council's member for community safety, said, all they have to do is open the power box up and let us plug it in. It's like somebody giving you a new car but not the keys. It's just a half-a-day job. The problem is all the red tape. We have qualified contractors, but TfL have made them go on health and safety courses and fill out books of forms. We have done everything they asked, but they've still not heard when the cameras can be plugged in. He said 2 young ladies were attacked while this was going on, and that's not good enough. They thought they had the security of cameras, but they didn't. These women have been let down. But you know what? They don't have the security of cameras because no one knew that they weren't plugged in. The people who carried out these attacks could see that the cameras were there, they just didn't care. They must have assumed that they were being filmed doing it. Is there any more proof you need that CCTV cameras do not stop crime? As I've said all along, it's tiring to be right about everything all the time. Isn't it, Raj?
Yes. I grow weary of it all the time.
Well, I can see the weariness etched on your face. I've always said CCTV cameras don't stop crime, in much the same way as the death penalty won't stop murders, because people aren't expecting to be caught while they're doing it. All CCTV cameras do is give the nightly news exciting footage to put on its bulletins. They don't seem to stop crime at all. You know, if you were a hoolie or some prevert who was going to attack someone under the guise of a CCTV camera, you have no idea whether it's being plugged in or not. You've got no idea whether there's film in the camera or whether it's digital, it's being sent directly to a police station. The bottom line is, obviously, either they were blind, because in the confines of an underpass, they can't be invisible, these things. They must be quite prominent. They don't have any effect at all. I mean, there was this incident just a little while ago of hoolies actually playing up to the camera, giving it the finger and, you know, baring their bottoms or whatever it was that they did while they were committing grievous crimes at the same time. So what's the point of them? Because there has been a major decision that in order to, well, I was going to say in order to protect us, but maybe that's not the decision at all. In order to further some agenda, whatever that might be, we must pepper the streets with CCTV cameras like they're being sprayed at them of a machine gun. It's something like, and I can't remember the exact figure, so I'll make it up, 80% of all the CCTV cameras in the world are in this building. Can you believe that? I exaggerate for comic effect. Not quite. It's something like half of all the closed-circuit television cameras in the world are in this country. That is truly staggering, isn't it? Yes, Nick, that really is staggering. Gosh, what a point you make.
I'm surprised America doesn't have more than us.
Yes, but particularly considering there's 260 million of them, and only 5 of us.
But they don't allow it, though, do they? Their civil liberties say that they can't do it in a lot of states.
Is that true?
I think so.
You think so?
Well,
already you're backing down.
Backing down, slowly away. Well, I know in like Texas they have laws against things like speed cameras and things, so it's like number plate recognition, that kind of thing. They don't allow that.
Is that true? I thought that in Texas it was one of those states where if you drive down, and I've driven across Texas, it is interminable. It goes on forever. Texas, and this is a fact, covers a quarter of the globe. Are you aware of that? It goes on forever, in dead straight lines to the horizon, without a feature to see between you and it, with nobody else on the road. And the temptation, you're driving a car that's, that could do 800 miles an hour, this giant, because all American cars, well, they used to, anyway, they're like 6 litres. They can't turn round corners, but they can go like a bomb in a straight line. And, the temptation, well, the car sits comfortably at 140. Anything below that, and it's straining at the leash. And so you just get carried away. And because there's...
what kind of cars are you renting?
Well, just an ordinary, normal car. For an ordinary, normal person. Like me. But because these roads are featureless and endless, there's no place for a policeman to stop and get you with his gun. So, sneakily... And what you said about Texas makes me wonder whether either I don't know what I'm talking about, or you've lost your mind.
Could be either, couldn't it?
They spot you by plane, a quarter of a mile away, flying in a perpendicular route to the... Not perpendicular, in a parallel route to the road, and spot you with a camera from space... and radio ahead to the town that you're headed to, and they'll nick you there.
But that's different to taking your picture while you're driving, isn't it?
Yeah. No. It's the same thing. You almost had me there for a minute.
Nearly.
And I came to my senses, all of a sudden, yeah. Anyway, how did we get onto this?
Cameras.
What they don't like is you hitching in some states. I can remember I got dropped in the middle of absolutely nowhere, total and utter wilderness, by one... by the way, don't hitch, ever. Just don't do it. You'd have to be a dope. I know I was. And I got dropped by a sign, and it was the only sign for miles around. Huge sign it was. Great big letters, which were visible from space. It says, "No hitchhiking." Me there with my thumb out. The very next car that came along was a police car. And they do the bip and the boo, and the lights go like a disco. I started dancing. They said, "You're not from around these parts, are you, boy?" Anyway, this, it does seem to me that CCTV cameras don't actually prevent crime. So what is their purpose? And then I begin to get suspicious. What is their purpose? If they palpably don't, and obviously don't prevent crime, which they don't, then why are they that? Why are there so many of them? Is there a hidden agenda? You'd have to think that all of the money that they've spent, and they would have done some sort of survey, some fact-finding mission of some sort to determine their value, and it would have come back as limited at best. And yet they ploughed on with this massively expensive procedure of sticking them all on lampposts, and they're still they come in ever more various guises. Smaller they are, and in little dark glass balls they come, and tiny little ones that you could fit on your lapel on the top of lampposts that spring up overnight, where previously they did not exist. Like a new forest of unblinking eyes. Why? If they're no good for their stated purpose, what are they there for? You'd have to think that perhaps it is like 1984. They're not there to prevent crime. They're there to Well, I don't know where to go with this.
Maybe it's supposed to have the same effect as if you were going to do something bad and someone was watching you, you might be less likely to do something bad.
Have you been listening to this show?
I know what
Good
you're saying, but
grief.
that's possibly what they're trying to say with
Why,
having them-
I oughta... If there wasn't 3 panes of glass between you and me, I'd give you a piece of my mind. And that's something that I can, I've just dried up. That I can, ill afford to lose. There you go. Oh, I'm exhausted. So that was just, I thought that was curious, and reading this article, the article didn't beg that question. That they put the CCTV camera in this underpass in order to protect people. Now, the Hoolies didn't know that it wasn't plugged in. For all they were concerned, and you'd have to be an idiot to spend all that money and not plug it in. So they must have assumed that they were being watched while they did it. And they went ahead and did it anyway. Bizarre, no?
I enjoy working with people.
You bet your life I do. Kensington. Hello, Noel.
Oh, Nick.
Noel.
Texas. Oh, my memories of Texas. I got nicked for speeding in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it was a thing to remember. I'll never, ever forget it. Like you said, the roads are straight as a die, nothing on them. Next thing I look up, I got the blue lights up behind me. So I pulled over, and he's come up and he's gone through about the speeding. He said, at the time I was in America, it was 55 mile an hour.
Yeah, which is the world's most boring... 70s feels slow after you've been doing it for an hour. 55? Yeah. Oh, it's so tedious.
Nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, he's gone through that. He's asked me to get out of the car. He's asked me then for my licence. And everything's in the boot, which is a mistake. Because I said...
Because that's where you keep your mescaline?
Well, that's where he said we get shot by people doing that.
Right,
so
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Everything has to be slow, ultra-slow.
Yeah.
He said, because you don't live in Texas, he said, I have to arrest you.
What?
I said, what for? He said, I have to arrest you. He said, you have to come back to the police station.
Do they always arrest people who don't live in Texas? Is it because you don't live in Texas or because you were speeding?
No, because I don't live in Texas.
Right.
So, anyway, back we go to the police station, and I'm sitting there, the sheriff comes in, and he said, look, he said, the judge has gone away for the weekend. This is Friday afternoon. He said, the judge is away for the weekend. He said, so he can't go to court till Monday morning. Now, he said, you can pay a bond of $100. He said, and clear off, and then come back Monday morning. But he said, I wouldn't do that. He said, because he'll fine you more than $100.
Right.
Or he said, you can stay, we'll lock you up for the weekend.
But then if you pay the bond and then you don't come back, then you get... I've seen this film. You get the guy who says, I want you to search every outhouse, hen house, cat house, and dog house.
And find them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, he said, if you don't turn back, you forfeit the bond if you don't turn up. But he said, if you do turn up, he said the judge will fine you more than the bond. So he said, don't turn up.
Right.
But then that was $100, you know? But,
which in them days, I bet. Huge.
Well, that was 23 years ago.
Yeah.
You know? But it's incredible. But the Texans are actually incredible. It's the only state, I don't know if you're aware of it, there's the state flag and the Union flag can fly at the same level. All the other states have to fly their state flag lower than the Union flag, but not in Texas.
Yeah, it's the Lone Star State.
Yeah, and they also, according to some of the Texans I was talking to, they also say that they have the right to withdraw from the Union. Yeah,
there's some sort of bizarre thing with Texas, isn't it? They just feel like they're, I don't know, better than all of the other states, and I don't know, I don't see that they've really got anything to shout about Texas. It's just so boring.
Yeah, but they're also the only ones that had an embassy in London, officially. It was off St James's Street in London.
Right, it's also, I don't know if it's still there, but also a cocktail bar just behind Trafalgar Square. Yeah.
That's just...
they used to do margarita swirls. How they do the swirls in them, I've got no idea. The way they used to do like a red and a white margarita, and the red would be a swirl inside the white. How do they do that?
That's Texans.
That's Texas for you,
They can do anything. They're a world apart, but actually they are lovely, but they do think they're a world apart from the rest of the Americans.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh,
yeah.
look at Bush.
Well, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Noel.
Take
Cheers,
care,
mate.
Nick. Bye.
Ta-da. He's lucky to be alive, as am I. I got arrested in, well, I'm not arrested exactly, coming back from a drive-in movie in Oregon, where I'd enjoyed the film. It was The Beastmaster, which is about the worst film I've ever seen. But that's the nature of drive-in movies. They're terrible. You don't go there to watch the movie. You go to, make out with your hot date. Sitting on the bonnet of a Dodge Charger, which is about the size of a king-size bed. It is huge. So we're going back afterwards, and, you get the blue lights in the rear view, and so we pull over, and I'm driving on an English licence, and you can't do that in Oregon. You can do it in other states, but Oregon is, as is Texas, a law unto itself. And so I had to go and present myself to the judge. And he said, and usually in America at that time, particularly out in the sticks where I was, you just turn on an English accent, act like Terry Thomas, and they think it's charming, and ask you to say things, and then just let you go, because you amuse them. But it didn't work this time. So I had to go and speak to the judge, and he said, I can't remember what he said to me. He said, have you got a licence? And I, thinking that he was just asking me to present him his licence, walked towards the judge, much to the consternation of the guards, who all reached for their guns and pointed them at me. Because you're not supposed to walk towards... You don't approach the bench until you're specifically requested to. So, like our last caller, I'm lucky to be alive as well.
It's like you've never seen a movie.
Yeah, I know. I am so stupid. Euston, hello, Ian.
Good evening, Nick.
Ian.
Yeah, how are you?
Good, thanks.
All right, I was listening to your show last night.
Yeah.
And a young man stated that he'd been to Auschwitz.
That's right.
And he wasn't very impressed. And he talked about there was a pile of rubble, and he couldn't understand why 1.2 million people died there.
Right.
Right. My father was in the army, and we were based in West Germany in the late 60s in a place called Herne. Just down the road from Herne was a little village called Belsen. There was a concentration camp there, which was liberated by the British in 1945, but it was deconstructed very soon after. So what remains at the now is basically a field.
Right.
And during the late 60s, the local inhabitants around Belsen were able to deny the fact that Belsen had existed during the war.
Right.
Okay, now, following on from that, we went on holiday to Italy when I was about 7. We stopped in Munich, and my parents took me to a place called Dachau, which was built in 1933 as a concentration camp.
Blimey, what about Disneyland? I mean, was that not available? All of these places that you went.
No, it wasn't available in those days. Shame, really. Well, I'm not sure I would go to Disneyland, actually, but, okay,
you picked Dachau over Disneyland.
Well,
okay.
I did talk to my parents about this and asked them, why did we go there? It certainly wasn't in any kind of tourist guide. We looked around. The whole camp is still intact. It's a living memorial. There are loads of graphic black and white photographs of what went on there, and it was fairly disturbing.
Right.
Then later on...
Sorry.
Later on in life, about 11 years ago, we were on I was travelling over to the Baltic States with a friend of mine, and we happened to decide to go to Krakow in Poland. And not far from Krakow is Auschwitz and Birkenau. And we spent the whole day there. Auschwitz 1 is an old Polish army barracks that the SS took over, and is a series of very substantial buildings that are still standing. When the SS decided to abandon the camp, they were unable to destroy those old buildings because they didn't want to use the explosives they had left. But what they did manage to do, they did manage to destroy the crematoria in Birkenau.
Right.
They left the electric fences up, they left the archway up, and there's still plenty of the wooden huts still standing there. Now, I also heard on the Jenny Barnett show about 2.5 weeks ago that the government was proposing to send sixth form students out there.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was quite a serious debate. And
well, in fact, the Tory, it was on the news, the nice man on the news said that the Tory party were accusing the Labour of this being a stunt, essentially.
Well, it's not really. I wouldn't describe it as a stunt. I mean, we didn't go there for the purpose of, like, visiting the concentration camp. We just happened to be driving past it and decided, right, now is the time to go and visit it.
Yeah.
And then we had a really nice evening in Krakow, which is one of the few intact Polish cities that the Germans failed to destroy during the war.
But what point is it that you're trying to make, Ian?
Well, the point is that while we were actually in Birkenau, we came across several parties of young people who were being obviously shown around the place by teachers.
Yeah.
Some of them were Polish, and some of them were young German people. And we started talking to the teachers and asking them what they were doing, and they were saying, well, it's part of the curriculum that young people from Germany are brought as far as Auschwitz, whereas there are still 1 or 2 camps that are intact in Germany. I mean, they could have taken them to Dachau, which would have been much nearer if the students had lived in Munich.
Right, we're running out of time because the travel's coming. So what is the point that you're trying to make?
Well, the point is, I think that it should be something that people should go and
right,
visit.
okay. So you're backing the government which is saying that students should be shown 1 or more of these camps.
Yes.
Right.
Combined with some other kind of activity as well. They go and visit Krakow and see what the difference is.
But in the absence of any other information, if you just go to these places, which are shells of buildings and so on, then you don't, unless you have been taught or seen on film, and
I agree with that.
Some film of the liberation of these camps still exists, then it won't impress upon a young mind exactly what went on there. And I think that's what this chap was saying yesterday. He went there without any other information, and it's just like a bunch of buildings to him.
Right, and I can appreciate where he's coming from.
Yeah. So I suggested that actually it would be perhaps at least as beneficial and certainly cheaper to show them Schindler's List.
Yeah, I've seen Schindler's List. It's an excellent film. It's very serious. Schindler had a factory in Krakow, and he eventually relocated to the Czech Republic, and he saved, I think, 700 people.
I don't know the exact number, but Ian, we'll undoubtedly talk about this further. But thanks very much for the call. All right.
Okay, no
Cheers,
problem.
Mate. Ta-da. 0845 6060 973 is 816. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
Thanks very much, Nick. The A13 is...
Here is Jessica in Sheffield. Hello, Jessica.
Hey, Nick.
Jessica.
Now, I would never normally disagree with you because I know you're always right.
Yes.
I do disagree with you about the hitchhiking thing.
Oh, about what specifically?
Well, about never ever doing it ever.
Never ever do it.
Yeah. I mean, I partly agree with you. I wouldn't condone doing it in this country. I mean,
I think this would be a relatively safe country to do it. You have to be off your mind to do it in America.
Well, I've done it in America.
Well, me too. I've done it in Los Angeles. I've hitched from one end of LA to the next, and that really is crazy. I
am surprised you're still alive.
Well, yeah, and the most dangerous trip that I got, well, I refused one, which was, I mean, you know, as soon as they pulled up...
Warning! Warning!
...was shouting, well, my brain was shouting at me, back away immediately. But the most dangerous trip I got, and I'm amazed that I actually arrived alive... I can't believe she picked me up. It was a woman. She must have been 80 years old. She was driving a VW Beetle. She was so, she was like one of these old ladies that's so small they look through the steering wheel
like
out the window.
Like a Miss Marple, a driving Miss Daisy kind of person.
And she was negotiating Los Angeles traffic as though she didn't have a care in the world. I did. She didn't. If she wanted to turn left, she was going to turn left, regardless of what anybody else was doing around her. And she would swerve over here, and I wouldn't be surprised if she couldn't actually see. And I was gripping the plastic inside that car. I'm sure my the dents from my nails are still in it. Terrifying.
Yeah, you do take your life into your own hands if you do that kind of thing. And actually, I do think that if you did it in this country, then you're probably opening yourself up to all kinds of problems. I think when you're abroad, you feel a bit invincible because you think it's a different country and they're going to be nicer. I think the most terrifying one that I ever had was in Italy. And I was at the top of a mountain in northern Italy, and I wanted to get to the bottom. And we were hitching. I was with someone. I would never do it by myself. I was with someone. But really, I don't think we were concerned about him assaulting us. I think we were more concerned about him getting us down this mountain.
Right.
Because the kind of curves and the edges were just terrifying.
Yeah.
And he was chatting to us and looking at us.
Oh, I hate that. I really hate that. And when people do that, you stare out of the front window more intently as though that will make up for it.
You think to yourself, if I was actually driving as opposed to hitchhiking, I'd be paying a lot more attention.
Well, yeah.
But I don't think it's that dangerous. And sometimes it can be quite interesting. I think you've got to play a part in it. You've got to be an interesting hitchhiker. I mean, in Italy... Well,
yes, there is a bit of give and take, that's right. You're supposed to be entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've sort of had rides from people that have been far more boring than I am. But, you know, you've got to kind of get your level. But if you get someone that's quite up for kind of giving someone a ride somewhere, then you're pleasant to them. They'll drop you off at the doorstep.
Well, it's amazing how generous people can be. I mean, I was really bowled over in America at people's unfathomable generosity. It's extraordinary. They, as you say, they'll go completely out of their way in order to make your life easier. They will invite you back to their house. Stay overnight. Hell, stay the week.
Exactly. I mean, not all people are awful. Again, I would say that if you're looking to get from sort of Manchester to London, you're taking your chances. But if you're looking to get from Los Angeles to Chicago, or sort of Verona to Milan, you're going to be kind of okay as long as you know how to play the game. I
can't remember the last time I saw somebody hitchhiking. It used to be all the time, you know, on the on the ramp in Hammersmith, going up towards the A4, which leads onto the M4 and out into the west. There always used to be people hitchhiking on that on-ramp. I can't remember the last time I saw one. It was years ago.
Well, I drive up and down the M1, and sometimes you see people that have actually got kind of number plates. I think that means that they're kind of professional hitchhikers.
Right. No, these are people that have delivered a car.
Exactly. And they're looking for a ride.
Yeah.
And because they've got those number plates, it almost sort of, you know, confirms them as being not mental. But I still don't stop. I would never stop.
Right.
But in other countries, I've taken advantage and not had a single problem. So I think you're probably wrong when you say that, you know, it should be
that's someone who's never had a problem saying that.
Yeah.
You know, other people who have had a problem have had, you know, there's a whole movie genre about picking people up by the side of the road, isn't there? And it never ends well.
It could always turn into Jeepers Creepers.
Exactly,
so watch yourself.
Exactly. Watch yourself, Jessica. And remember, mirror, manoeuvre, signal.
That's the one.
Did I get that right?
No.
Okay.
Thanks, Jessica.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, my dear. It's all right. 0845 6060 973. I did have one, in retrospect it was terrifying, but as it was going, as it was going on it was a bit terrifying. But when I think about it now, I must have been out of my mind. Maybe I'll save it for, I'll write a film script.
That would be original.
Temple Fortune. Hello, Linda.
Hello, just to change the mood a bit. I just wanted to make a comment. I only just turned the radio on and heard about the, the proposal to take kids. I'm not sure if it's just from Britain, but or all over the world, to teach them about the Holocaust and take them to places like Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Far better than that. I think actually Schindler's List is even better than take them to some of the camps, but far, far better to take them to Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, which is what it means, heroes and martyrs, but it is the most fantastic place with every aspect of the Holocaust, and of course it's been branched out to teach as well about in general man's ghastly inhumanity to man.
Is this new bill?
Can I just say they've got amongst other things, they're trying to collect a page for every Holocaust victim, Jewish and non-Jewish, and Steven Spielberg is also doing something similar, who wants an oral history, a recorded testimony of everybody for people who say, it didn't exist and things, and this is that sort of proof.
Yeah.
But it's the most wonderful place, and they've also got a whole section dedicated to what they call righteous Gentiles, which is people that helped help Jews and others, who were being murdered and were persecuted by the Nazis. So it's just the most amazing place. It's covered
is this the place that's just been built by I can't remember what the guy's name is.
No, I think you're thinking of the one in Berlin, maybe.
Right, yeah, that's right.
But it's also got a hall called the Hall of Names, the Hall of Children, to do with the children's memorial museum place, which is the most very. I'm trying to think. Just very extremely moving and original place, just to do with the children.
But in reality, of course, we haven't got an unlimited amount of money, and sending children to either Germany or Israel is, we can't afford books in school, let alone trips to places like this. Showing them something like Schindler's List or the episode of The World at War. The episode that I can't watch, with every now and again, The World at War, which is a magnificent series. Laurence Olivier narrated it. There's that one episode about the camps, and I just can't watch it.
The only thing I can see, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do things because there's a backlash, but I can see, and there already has been this whole thing, which... You know how when you're talking about something about how terrible Russia is, people say, "Oh, well, why talk about Russia? What about China?" And I'm just saying, when this came up, there was a whole thing on the airways, especially on phoning programs. There were people ringing up, saying, "Well, what about the slave trade? Why bloody Jews moaning on about, why?" But I mean, we're not talking about other things. They were awful. You've brought up the thing to do with the Holocaust, and in a way, maybe on this occasion there might be a point that they shouldn't really, maybe there might be a backlash.
Okay, Linda, I've got to go, but thanks very much for the call. This is LBC
90. Collect terms and conditions apply.
LBC 97.3, it's 8:30.
In News Centre, I'm John Ironmonger. We're hearing a passenger...
I'm super, thanks for asking. Poplar, Andy.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Right, American policeman... or American judicial system. I've got two stories. One happened to a friend of mine. He was in New York about an hour before he had to check in on his flight back to the UK.
An hour? He checked...
Yeah, he was only around New York looking in the shops and all the rest of it. And he had about an hour to get to the airport to check in.
Oh, I see, right. He didn't show up an hour before he was due to fly.
No.
Right.
So, he's wandering around and he got issued a ticket for jaywalking. Right?
Now to clear this up, jaywalking, that is when you're at an correct me if I'm wrong, right? When you're at a square intersection and you want to go in a diagonal, you have to go over one road and then over another, rather than the hypotenuse of a triangle.
It's essentially, it's crossing the road at any point where there isn't a crossing.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Yeah. Go on then.
So... he got given this ticket, and he said, "Look, I'm flying back." So, "Well, I'm going to issue you this ticket," and he'd taken his passport and all the rest of it, and got his details. So he flew back home, didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, he went back to the States, got to immigration control, gave him his passport and everything, and this other guy appeared, and he said, "Can you come with me, please?" And he was thinking, "Ooh, good, yeah, what's going on?" And he took him into this room, and he said, "I'm sorry, you have an outstanding warrant."
What?
Outstanding warrant? For what? For what? It wasn't me. I said, "I'm sorry, sir, you have an unpaid fine, and there's a warrant issued for your arrest."
Right.
Unpaid fine? No, you have to tell me, it definitely wasn't me. It was somebody's framing me or something. He said, "No, on this date, you were given a ticket for jaywalking." He said, "Oh, that?"
Yeah.
No, he said, "Sorry, sir, you seem to be making very light of this. You don't understand the gravity of it. You issued this ticket and you didn't pay the fine."
How's he supposed to pay the fine?
I was flying back. "Well, you should have made fine, sir." "But I had to get to the airport for my flight." "But you were given a ticket. It was your responsibility to pay the fine."
Go on.
The upshot of it, I mean, they did let him in and what have you, but he basically just made him feel very, very stupid for about half an hour.
Well, that's what people at the airport and in planes have been given the ability to do. Because everyone's got hysterical about security now, we've handed to people who are Well, they're just security guards, really, aren't they? I mean, there's no great skill involved to sit there and watch a screen where bags go through on an X-ray machine, or to, wave a wand around your trousers to see if it goes beep. But we've handed them all the power that God has to really screw your life up. And if they're having a bad day, or they just feel like it, then they can ruin yours.
Oh, yes, indeed. And the second one happened to me. What happened to me and Jane? We were in Miami, and we'd hired a Harley.
Really?
Yeah, we thought, we're going to the States, we're going to Miami, hire a Harley.
Are you a motorbike rider over here?
I am, yes.
Yeah. What kind of bike have you got here?
I've got a Ducati.
Right, so a proper bike.
And a Norton, yeah.
And how's a Harley drive? Like a whale, I would imagine.
In a straight line, they're fantastic.
Yeah, they don't go round corners, do they?
No, not very well, no. I say, in the States, brilliant. So we hired this Harley, and we were going off to the Everglades. So, I'd looked at the map and what have you, and going along, and the other annoying thing to do in the States is you're on a road and it keeps changing its numbers and names.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
You looked on the map and it says it's called this thing, but as you go through districts, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd been going along. I thought, well, I'm going to pull over and check the map and just see if we are in the right place. So there was like a grass bank coming down to the road, and then the road sort of going up from that. So I didn't want to go on the grass, so I pulled right onto the very edge, as close to the grass as I could get without actually going onto it. And we were standing there, and we've got the map out looking at it. And this patrol car pulled up alongside of us. Now, we both got long hair, and we both had leathers on and everything.
Yeah, and you were driving a Harley. You hippies.
So we were driving a Harley. And in Florida, you don't have to wear a helmet.
Right.
So a Harley, you don't want to go fast on a Harley anyway. So, and he pulled up, and he obviously thought, well, hey, I've got a right pair here. So he pulled up.
He's pulling on the rubber gloves and asking you to adopt the position and relax.
Yeah, so my immediate reaction was to go, oh, great, grab the map, took it over to him and said, am I on this road? And he went, you're parked on the highway. I said, I'm sorry about that. I said, I didn't want to park on the grass. I said, I pulled over as far as I can and just needed to see where I was going. Am I on this road? It's an offence to park on the highway. I said, I'm terribly sorry. I said, you probably gathered them
Was it the
I'm
Terminator you were talking to?
It could have been, yes. I said, you can put it on, I'm not from round here.
Yeah, obviously. So did you get away with it?
Well, he said, if you'd gone down the road another half a mile, there's a diner, you could have pulled in there and asked directions.
Yeah, how are you supposed to know that?
No, exactly. It went through, the thought ran through my head, and my brain fortunately went no, because I thought, I resisted the temptation to say, if I knew there was a diner half a mile down the road, I would have pulled in.
That's right, and he'd have said...
Yes.
But you lived to tell the tale.
We lived
at length.
He
well
said,
done, Andy.
I will let you off this time.
Thanks a lot, mate. You're going to let me off. Cheers. 0845 6060 973. I don't know whether I should tell my tale yet.
Is it good?
Well, it was petrifying while it was happening, and I still can't believe that it actually happened. That I did it.
Why don't you tell us in two parts to keep us interested and intrigued?
Maybe. The number here, excuse me, the number here, 0845 6060 973. Here's Forest Hill. Hey, Jill.
Hey.
Jill.
Nick. You're brill. I love you.
Oh, thanks, Jill.
I want to have a little bit of a Nick rant. But before about our prisons and the government and all the rest of it. But anyway, some news I've read. But before I do, two things. Whilst I was waiting, you were talking about Texas to someone, and you said that basically explaining that they're a law unto themselves. You know, they're part of the union, but no, they're their own union.
Yeah.
And isn't that where George Bush comes from?
Yes.
well, why the hell should he care about the rest of the world or the rest of the states or the rest of anything? You know, he's a real Texan man. You know, no wonder they've had the policies they've had, because if that's you know the nature or the way that Texans are and Texas is, then blimey,
well, they're not all crazy.
It sounds as if they are.
Right. Well, it's like, they're just very proud of their state, that's all.
Yeah, but they do seem to... Well, you're off a loon state.
Well, it's the Lone Star State. I just was making a joke, the Lone
Yeah, but
Star
there's lots of truth in jokes.
I suppose so, yeah.
Anyway, and the other thing I just really felt compelled to mention, or rather to confirm, was when you said that the staff at the airport, think they have all the power in the world.
Well, they do.
Can make you do anything.
Yes, they can ruin your a holiday that you've been waiting a whole year to take.
Well, not even ruin it, after you've had it, but on your way back, because my experience was I was coming back from Canada, and this was years ago, and I was at Montreal, at the airport in Montreal, and I wasn't quite young then, I bought a moose hat.
A what?
A moose hat. It's like a hat that's like
looks
a moose.
like a moose, yeah.
But
right.
It was like a real, almost life-size, moose-sized hat. And I had all my hand luggage and everything, and I tucked it under my arm because it was all foamy and made of furry stuff anyway,
Yeah,
with these antlers.
sounds a delight.
It was great fun. Well, anyway, and I bought it back for amusement here in the UK.
Funny how those things that you buy on holiday, they look like fun when you're over there. They look really silly when you bring them back.
Yeah, it was the equivalent of the Spanish sombrero, I suppose.
Exactly.
But here's what they did to me, because it weighed nothing and it could sort of squish down. Well, they stopped me on the way to board the plane, and they said, "No, you can't take that on." I said, "Well, all my luggage is gone. What am I going to leave it or wear it?" So I had to wear it.
Why couldn't you take it on? Oh, because it was a hand baggage.
Yeah.
Or they didn't allow livestock.
They made me wear it, and I had this huge moose head that actually, it was so big, sort of went over. You could only sort of see my lips below because it sort of went...
Well, I suppose that serves you right then, doesn't it?
I look like a right moose getting on
yes.
the plane.
A lesson learnt,
I heard
Jill.
them giggling behind my back as I went on. But anyway, so yes, they do exploit their powers.
Yeah, they really do. And it's not like we're talking about geniuses here. They're not security experts. They're just, people in a uniform who couldn't get any other job. And like I know we've talked about.
And mean.
Yeah, we just talked about this. We've talked about this sort of thing before, and I know I'm right about this, but people security at the airport. I've been a security guard, and I know that there's huh.
You were a security guard?
Yeah, I know. I got fired, but there's no there's no intelligence required, really. I mean, it's got to be the world's most boring job. You sit there and you see the bags go through and through and through, and it just must be terminal. And so, to enliven your day, every now and again, you'll just pick on someone and say, "Right, I'll have you."
Yeah, you will wear that moose head. But anyway, that's not really what I called about. I called about to have a Nick rant. Because in the newspapers today, the government are saying that to the judges, stop sending so many people to prison.
Yeah.
Where are they supposed to send them? And
you know what? This is really bizarre, because the papers on a regular basis say that they're letting this person off and he should be in jail, and these people over here and they should be in jail. But you know what? The actual truth of the matter is we're sending more people to prison per head of population in this country than any other country virtually in the Western world. And it's still not enough.
No, well, I mean, I'm very worried about this, and I'm thinking, especially after the conversation you were having yesterday, which, if I was a cartoon, I was saying to Raj, my head would have, half of my cranium would have split open, and a little nuclear bomb would have gone off.
Well, you could always wear your little moose's hat. That'd cover it up.
Well, they would. But when you were talking about their perks, the dinners and the cost of it all, and
the
travelling,
MPs.
and
it's just all of those people should be in prison.
Extortion. It's extortion. I'm sorry, but they're stealing from us.
Yeah, Jill, rant over. I've got to do the travel now. Thanks a lot.
Then.
Cheers, mate. That's all right. 0845 6060 973. It's 8:45. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
Thanks very much, Nick.
The studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
First one, Coulsdon. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Nick. Good evening and greetings to you. I have two quick stories on Miami and travelling to Miami.
Oh, yeah.
I made a trip with my then-girlfriend. We went to Miami for a holiday. We then went to Jamaica for 10 days and came back to Miami to finish the rest of our holiday.
Right.
Upon returning to Miami International Airport, the customs and the police looked very similar to red caps, and our luggage got separated. I was in one corner sorting out the luggage that had got lost, and my girlfriend called one of what she thought was the red caps to carry her luggage and to bring her luggage to another part of the airport, and kept calling the chap, and he was looking at her, and she kept going, come on, because if you pay them, they come, and they come quickly, and she thought this was what was happening. And the chap came across, took her suitcase, and went the other way. So she started screaming for me, Mike, come, this guy's taking my suitcase. And he went and put her suitcase on a counter, and she started opening it, and she got very mad with him. And, what do you think you're doing opening it? And I came over, and of course it was a customs officer with a gun at the side, not a red cap. And he was not amused. He couldn't understand that we didn't actually realise that he was customs, because he looked very much like the red cap.
You was disrespecting him.
Big time. And, oh my goodness, he wasn't amused by it. He covered his gun with his hand all the time, went through absolutely everything. He thought no one could genuinely make that mistake. It must be a scam. So that was one incident. And then another time, we like Florida. Now we've gone another time to Florida. We've come in at Miami again. It's a family trip now. Mother-in-law, we're now married, and sister-in-law and friends. And I've hired one of these large Transams, a 15-seater minibus type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's piled high with luggage at the back. There's about 9 of us in, and luggage at the back.
A 15-seater? That's a bus?
Well, it is. It's like a small bus. But we've come in the evening thinking that, you're coming after a long flight, it's evening, you go home, go to bed, and get up in the morning, and you're not jet-lagged. That was the theory. But I got lost. So the evening came into sort of 3 in the morning. I got lost around Miami, and I must have ended up in one of the worst dregs. It's about 10 years ago, one of the worst places you could have gone to in the middle of the night. And I was completely lost, and there was all drug dealers and prostitutes and all kind of reprobates on the street. And I saw a police car, so I pulled over next to the police car, on the opposite side of the road from the police car, walked across this large sort of 2-lane road to go and speak to the policeman that was in the police car. And he said to me, "You don't do that. What do you think you're doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm lost. I'm just trying to get nice." He goes, "Do you know where you are? You don't just walk across the road to me like that." And I couldn't understand it, because in England, you want to speak to a policeman, you speak to them. But this guy's telling me I'm in, like, one of the worst neighbourhoods. It's the middle of the night. I've just got out of the car and walked towards him. The way I've walked, he could do anything. So he again covering his gun. And then, he gave me directions, just told me I've got to be far more careful. I can't be in these areas.
Well, you must have been...
Luggage piled high.
The way you look, you must have been screaming dopey tourists. Otherwise, he would have felled you where
robbery.
You stood.
It's years later, I spoke to other American friends and told them that story. They live in Miami, and they told me the policeman was scared because the drug dealers and the drug addicts would look at us and see 9 sets of tourist money, and it's worth killing the policeman for and getting to us. And it's only years later I've actually realised how silly we were.
Never arrive in Miami during the hours of darkness, unless you're being picked up by someone who lives there.
Yeah, well, I think sat-nav helps now.
Sat-nav, yeah.
I do it very differently from those days. That was 10 years ago.
All right,
That's
thanks.
my experience.
All right, cheers, Michael.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. Miami used to be really bad. There used to be there was a spate of tourists getting shot, and they would get shot just coming out of the driving rental area, because there's this whole sort of compound near Miami Airport where you go and get your car, and as you come out, it's very, very complicated, as you were saying, and you unless you really know what you're doing, and you're, wide awake and paying attention, which, of course, having just come to Miami and are full of jet lag, you're not, then you will get lost. And to get lost in Miami is a very bad thing to do indeed, because there are certain areas, and you drive, and to a British eye, it looks as though it's not that bad, because there's, like, detached houses, and they've all got a little yard and so on, and you think, oh, well, this isn't bad. It's not bad to our eyes, because we would expect, you know, a very sort of run-down place where there's lots of terraced housing, and, what's bad to our eyes isn't bad to theirs. It looked as though it was quite well off. But just because the houses the walls of the houses don't touch each other doesn't mean to say that there's any money there. And people were getting shot left, right and centre. You virtually had to run in a crouched position from the luggage carousel to your car to avoid getting shot. And if you got back to your hotel, well, it was a bonus. But I think they cleaned it up, because after a while, I mean, there was a spate of shootings. It was about one a week. Of tourists. It was open season on tourists. In fact, Carl Hyacin, may or not have pronounced that right, who's a columnist in the Miami Herald. He also writes amusing books. I think one of the books that he wrote was tourists, open tourist season, something of that order, because people were getting shot in great numbers over there. But they cleaned it up, because otherwise, if they didn't, then nobody would go there anymore. A problem that Dubai, I think, is driving itself into. They've spent all that money over there, Dubai, but trying to persuade the rest of the world that this is a jolly place to come and go for your holidays. And meanwhile, and I don't know whether this is an urban myth or not, but they've banged somebody up for 4 years for having 2 poppy seeds on the sleeve of his jumper, which fell off a sandwich he was eating that he bought in Heathrow Airport. But of course, poppies are very bad news over there. And because they found these things, then he's going to go to jail. Isn't that insane? And that's about the 3rd case like that we've read in the papers over here. And the message, which seems to be becoming loud and clear, is don't go to Dubai. Why anybody in possession of their right mind would want to go and take a holiday in Dubai in the first place is just beyond me. What the hell do you want to go there for?
You can do they've got some nice beaches.
Oh, get lost. There's beaches all over the planet.
Yeah, but they don't have white sand and turquoise.
Oh, who cares?
Nice.
You don't have to go to Dubai. It's a giant building site. It's hideous. Plus, you may or may not get out alive. Or within 4 years.
I took a cab at 3 in the morning, randomly flagged down one, and I was perfectly safe.
Where?
In Dubai.
Right. Well, what's that got to do with it?
Well, you said...
Well, I could do that in London and I'd be perfectly safe, unless someone shot me.
Yes, but I'm saying the crime rate in Dubai is quite low.
I'm not talking about the crime rate, I'm talking about the welcome you get as you come into the country. Somebody's just been arrested for having a piece of marijuana that was invisible to the naked eye. It was so small. It was something like 0.01 of a gram. So tiny, it's invisible. Stuck to the bottom of his shoe. 4 years in jail. Welcome to Dubai. Forget it. I wouldn't go there if you held a gun to my head.
It's not that bad.
Unless they're advertising with us, of course, in which case everyone should go and it's a super destination. Go and have fun. Woohoo! What possessed you to go to Dubai? Why on earth would you go there?
Well, we've got family out there and we wanted to see it.
Right, and what was it like? Hideous, I bet.
No, I mean, if you go there now, most of it's been developed, so they're obviously still developing, but I was there a few years ago and it's very nice.
Very nice. I doubt that. Very nice. What does that mean, very nice?
It means that it was clean, it was friendly.
Well, so's my flat, but I want to take a holiday there.
Yeah, I wouldn't take a holiday in your flat either.
Well, yeah, that's good, because you're not invited. What a dreadful person you are. Only now your true colours are coming out. I had no idea. Everybody's been saying, what a dreadful person. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's like such a super nice person.
I am.
Is this the same person who gave me 2 fingers yesterday? With great vigour and vim?
No, that would be someone else.
Oh, that was somebody else. I see. Right, that must have been an optical illusion on my part. I am looking at you through 3 panes of glass.
You might have been just, misguided.
I was hallucinating at the time, yeah. This is LBC.
London.
What are we doing?
Robert, Carol, we're doing Robert. Robert.
Hello, how are you?
All right, thanks.
Okay, I'm just, you're ready for this.
I'm just paying my takeaway a dinner for my dinner. I just wanted to call and say a couple quick things about Texas. First of all, one of your callers said that George Bush is from Texas. Actually, Mark Thatcher lived there, and he's not a Texan. George Bush and his father were both born in New England, and there are no more Texans than, as I said, Sir Mark Thatcher. And if you have any other questions about life on the road in America, I wish you'd give me a call at any time.
Okay, well, stand by your phone.
Okay.
Thanks, Robert. Wallington. Hello, Joan.
Hello, Nick. Well,
Joan.
I can't be your correspondent anymore, then.
Well, we don't want to talk about what's said in there, and
well, evidently it's a bit patchy now, so
yeah.
I'll just have an
Let's
argument
just
instead.
skip it. Yeah.
Because I think you've been talking about Dubai.
Right.
And all I've been hearing is good stuff about Dubai.
From who?
Well, I've had one relative who's lived there when she got married, and they went out as a couple and lived and worked out there ever since and like it. Then there's different...
What's it like, though? I mean, it just mystifies me. I mean, the temperature must be over 50 degrees.
Well,
it's just an entire... The whole place is a building site. I don't get it.
And somebody else has bought an apartment out there for the holidays. Someone else, relatives, have been out there.
And that's another thing, Joan. That whole idea of buying a holiday apartment, which means that you go back to the same place.
Oh, you don't.
Time after time after time.
I think the idea, it's a bit like all the others, Bulgaria, etc., where they think they're going to rent out for, weeks and weeks of the year and just go sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, if you buy yourself a holiday house, then that means that every time you take a holiday, you're going to go back to the same place. I'm mystified by that.
Yeah,
I mean, of all the places in the world to go back to the same one over and over again.
But I think a lot of people think it's an investment. I think that's what people think. Whether it will be or not, I don't know.
I'm not sure that's true. People buy holiday lets to go on holiday.
Well, it's a bit sold at the moment. Newspapers, media in general, it's sold as, you're guaranteed renting.
What, Dubai?
Well, I mean, lots of places.
Well, that's because they're trying to sell them.
I know.
This is adverts that you're reading.
Well, I mean, I don't go along with it with that point. I don't actually think that buying somewhere like in Bulgaria, for instance, is going to be a good investment. But
it may or may not be, but just the concept of spending all of your holidays in the same place, I just don't get it.
You wouldn't want to.
No.
I don't think so. No, I mean, for me, I don't see the attraction in Dubai, but from the people I've heard, they seem to, I enjoy it, the people are lovely. They do say they're treated very, very well out there.
Well,
people are very friendly.
Talk to the people in prisons, see what they say.
No, I don't know. You see, if there is a general idea that you mustn't do this and mustn't do that, and they do keep the streets clean, and they do keep drugs down, and it's all fairly civilized. And actually, we want a bit of civilized, don't we, here?
Yeah, but we don't want to get insane about it. I mean, somebody who tracks a microscopic speck of dope on the bottom of their shoe, I mean, that is not where you would keep it if you were trying to smuggle it in. Somebody's just stood in it, haven't they? And then to spend 4 years in jail for that is insane.
That is insane.
Yeah.
But then it was insane coming back from Bulgaria with the potted rose jam, wasn't it? And
with the what?
Did I tell you I was coming back from Bulgaria?
No.
Yeah, well, they searched my bag, and I had little bags of stuff, because we'd been in an apartment, and I thought, I'm going to bring that bit of butter back with me. I'm not going to leave it.
Butter? You crossed international borders with butter? What, like we don't have butter here?
I thought it would be a good sandwich when I got indoors, And,
well, waste not, want not,
Joan? Yeah, things like that. And she discovered eventually, with great ferocity, a jar of rose jam about the size of your hand. Oh, less than half your hand.
Yeah.
And threw it in the bin.
Who
my God, a jar
who threw it in the bin?
This customs woman.
Right, why?
I have no idea.
Didn't like roses?
I was surprised it wasn't walked off. I'm surprised that got on the plane.
Well, there are certain things that you can't take across borders, aren't there? I don't think you're allowed to take fruit. Maybe that's what it was. She thought it was a conserve.
I've heard of sausages.
Yeah, well, not for that sort of makes sense, like meat products and...
But why? Why does that make sense?
Well, you know, you could be tracking any sort of diseased product in. What really...
But you wouldn't if you're going to eat it, would you?
Well, how do you know what's in it? What really mystifies me is, when you're at the airport, what's the sort of thing that you want to buy when you're waiting for the plane to take off? Like a giant a bar of Toblerone, for instance.
Oh, yes.
Bigger than you've ever seen in your life. They're amusing, and they, they take a little while to get through. And it's the sort of thing that you never think of buying in ordinary everyday life. No, but you think, oh, wow, that looks good. Yeah, all right, I'll have one of them. Maybe a bottle of champagne to enjoy at the hotel when you get there.
No.
The last thing on my list is smoked salmon. Yet, they're selling it just before you get on a hot plane.
Oh.
Where's the sense in that?
I can only imagine that because it's smoked, it'll stand the journey.
Well, no, I mean, when you buy smoked salmon or pâté, there's another thing that they sell in the supermarket. It's in the chill counter, and they say keep this in the fridge.
Yeah,
so if you buy it in the duty free just before you get on a plane, well, you might be crossing the planet. You could be going. It will be warm for at least 4 hours, no matter where you're going.
Yeah, I would have thought that's one thing they wouldn't allow you to take. Or
well, it's insane. Why would anybody want to buy smoked salmon before they get on a plane?
No.
But, nothing makes any sense to me these days.
Unless you brought your own loaf with you.
Yes.
And your own bit of butter with
you. That's right.
And a little lemon.
Like you do, thinking ahead, Joan.
I do, I think ahead a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't like throwing things away. It's my upbringing.
Right.
Can't help it.
Tight.
Okay.
What?
Have we decided on Dubai or not, then?
Oh, I'm not going. You can go all you like.
I'm not going, but it just... I have had, people say, oh, yeah, well, I loved it in Dubai. I really love it.
I am mystified why anybody would want to go to a place that's been built yesterday. I mean, go to a place that's got a bit of history to it.
One thing I don't understand is that everybody knows it's built on sand. All the buildings built on sand.
Right.
And so everybody rents out there, because they know the thing will disappear in about 10 years. But suddenly...
I don't think that's true, is it?
Well, this has been the history there, that you would not buy because of the stability, because they don't expect buildings to last that long.
Well, they must do. I mean, they've got
recently,
half of the construction that's going on in the world right now is going on in Dubai.
Yeah.
They've got engineers coming out their ears over there.
What's happened to the situation? How do they avoid this thing that they're actually all building on sand?
That's an interesting question, Joan. I would imagine that they just sink concrete piles, as far down as the centre of the Earth itself.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, though. From being people that sort of wouldn't buy there, and now people are buying and buying.
Seriously, I mean, if you want to go to somewhere hot in the winter, then there's no end of great places to go. Dubai has got to be absolutely last on the list. I can't... I would have to have been everywhere else in the world to go to Dubai.
Well, it's surprising the amount of people that tell me they've been there, here or there and everywhere. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't want to go there. And then I think, I must have a very narrow mind if I'm not going to these places that other people love.
Well, not really. I mean, each to their own. I mean, and I enjoyed Israel, for instance.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Well, some parts of it. We were talking about Jerusalem a little earlier on. I didn't like Jerusalem at all. I thought it was an awful place, particularly the old city, the walled city.
Uh-huh.
There's this bizarre road which looks like. Well, I suppose it looks like you're in the Monty Python movie, because that's probably exactly where it was shot.
Oh.
Life of Brian.
Very dusty.
It was mad. It was absolutely mad on a stick. This sort of bizarre of, they were selling all sorts of things. It was like this Market Street, and I couldn't get off it. I spent about an hour trying to get off this road. I'll take this alleyway that goes off to the left, and it just looped around and came back onto this road again.
Oh.
And then I went a bit down, and I'll take this right-hand turn, and then you go around this sort of, ancient old alleyway, and it loops around and comes back onto this road again. I literally could not get off that road.
How'd you get off the end then?
At the road that I was on, if you go to the top of it, you get out. And I gave up after a while. I couldn't find the rest of the walled city. I just had to leave.
So was it sort of all right? And and not too violent or not too nasty.
I didn't get shot while I was there, but you could see the remnants of the violence everywhere. It was as though buildings had been started but not finished everywhere you looked. There was like concrete shells, but there was no windows or walls. It was bizarre. It was a very, very strange place. But I liked it a lot. Lovely people. I mean, Tel Aviv I thought it was a great town.
Well, so would you go back?
Well, you see, there's so many places that I've enjoyed going to in the past.
You've gone to a lot of places, haven't you?
Well, I wouldn't say a lot.
Was that when you were sort of being a university type, or was that...
No, that was later. But I've come to think that there's so many places that if you lived to be 1,000, you wouldn't see all the great places in the world. So why go to the same place twice?
Well, sometimes I want to go to the same place twice.
Well, yeah, me too. I mean, I like Amsterdam a lot, for instance, but I haven't been to Prague, and I haven't been to Budapest or any of these other great places. So why go back and see the same thing over and over? This is my point about having a holiday home. I don't get it.
If a place, all right, so if you've gone to a city, and you've seen the city, and you've seen the buildings, you might not want to go back just for that.
Yeah.
But if you actually love just being at a part of that city or a part of that country, overlooking a Darling Bay with a nice little...
Yeah.
No,
I get that.
That's where I want to be.
Although, there's other Darling Bays in the world that you haven't seen yet. Go and take a peek at one of those, Joan. I double dare you.
All right.
Joan, I've got to go.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, minute. 0845 6060 973. It's 9:16. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
0845 6060 973. Ever feel that you're not achieving quite as much from life as you could be? LBC offers you the opportunity to change direction with One Life Live 2008. It's an event that takes place at Olympia from the 29th of February to the 2nd of March. An unmissable event for all those who dream about doing something different with their lives, whether it's taking a grown-up gap year, becoming your own boss, retraining for a new career, or simply achieving a better work-life balance. Tickets at lbc.co.uk. It's the event for people who know we only have one life and want to live it. lbc.co.uk. Let's take one of these calls. Well, while you set those up, let me do something which I thought was interesting in connection with the CCTV thing that I was talking about earlier on. This is about the closed-circuit television cameras that they put in Gants Hill Tube Station, where attacks then took place while the CCTV cameras weren't plugged in. The cameras themselves obviously didn't stop the attacks taking place. The people who perpetrated the crimes, which were very serious, didn't know that the cameras weren't plugged in. They just didn't care. So it seems that they're not put there to, or rather, if they're put there to stop crime taking place, then they obviously don't work. On the other hand, millions of motorists are likely to incur parking fines without realising it after being caught on CCTV. From March 31st, write this down in your diary, councils across England and Wales will have the power to use remote cameras to enforce parking laws and then send tickets by post. The move comes alongside other changes that will allow parking attendants to issue tickets as soon as they have seen a car illegally parked without having to put them on the motorist's windscreen. I know this happened to me just the other day, and I'm still waiting for the letter in the post. Nothing so far. Motoring groups said that both changes will lead to a surge in the number of questionable tickets being issued, with drivers facing fines even when no offence has been committed. That's right, they'll just make this stuff up. They're bound to. I mean, if they're going for targets, I would. How about you? I mean, you'd meet your target after 5 minutes. You just take the numbers down of cars that are going by, not necessarily parked. Who's going to say otherwise? And then you can decamp to the pub for the rest of the day. I kind of like the people in the street who do surveys. I did this once for a very well-known survey company. They give you this. It's like it's an interminable job. It seems like it would take you forever. They give you a questionnaire, a lot of impertinent questions. You're going to ask somebody about who they're going to vote for, something like that. But you can't just pick the first 20 people that come along. You've got to have one ABC, one man of 55 years old, and then you've got to have one C2DE woman of 19, and then you've got to, and they just break it down like that. So basically, you've got to find a 50-year-old doctor, a 19-year-old person who's on the dole, a 30-year-old person who's, a skilled labourer, and it will take all day. Particularly if you're in a type of area that only has a certain kind of person. Like if you're in Brixton, for instance, good luck on finding, a lawyer. And so I just made it up. I went to the pub, nice and warm it was, lovely. Pint of lager, and just wrote down what I thought their answers should be. Isn't that dreadful? And you get it done in about half an hour, and that's the end of your day. You can bill them for the full amount. Tremendous. Job done.
So is there something out in society now that probably shouldn't be there because of your made-up service?
That's right. The Labour Party. Guilty, Your Honour. You do understand, of course, that all of these stories that make it seem as though I am a wrongdoer, I'm just making up for your amusement.
Sure you are.
Yeah, I am. But isn't that dreadful that they'll be, shortly be able to use these CCTV cameras that have been, I would suspect, been put up there, with our money, of course, saying that they are there for the purpose of reducing crime. That's not why they're there at all. They'll point them at the street right enough, and if somebody who's going to commit a crime sees them and is deterred from doing it because there's a camera there, then they can claim that as a great success. Although my personal experience is cameras don't matter a jot. My car was parked out the back of this building with a camera, with not just one, but several cameras pointing right at it. The nearest one was about 10 foot away. And he still smashed the window and nicked my sat-nav. They don't have any effect at all in deterring crime, but tremendously useful in fining you for doing, every slight infraction of the rules. Painful. And we just shrug our shoulders and we take it, and take it, and take it, and thank you, sir, may I have another? Hackney. David.
Yes, hello.
Hey, David.
Well, you're never going to get away from them. They're always going to want your money. And one place you should go with a lot of history, where I've chosen to go and have a look at, is Morocco.
Now, there you are. See, Morocco sounds much more attractive than Dubai.
Oh, it is, because I go to the northern coast on the Mediterranean. You can see Gibraltar from where we are.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, we go for the whole month of August, and it is so beautiful.
August,
yeah, and it's not even that hot because
really?
you have a cool breeze that comes off the Rift Mountains.
Is it the Scirocco?
Sorry?
The Scirocco?
No.
I got that one wrong.
That's another part you get that in.
Right.
I don't know which part that is. That's like a sandstorm that comes across the place.
Yeah, that's the Sahara, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
I'm guessing now, just to try and make background.
Yeah, but the northern part is beautiful. It's very green. There's lots of farms, organic food.
Now, see, that's not what I would expect from Morocco. Green.
No, we went there and in 2005 just to have a look. We arrived there. My wife, who had no intention of going there, was really surprised as we went across the mountains from Tangiers across to the Mediterranean side.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't believe this. It's really green. It's actually very nice. And there's a few scrappy towns that could do with a coat of paint. And
well, you could say that about this country.
Yeah, well, this place looks rough to what it does over there. I mean, but that's the last thing on some of the mines, because all they're doing is working over there. And the crime is, there's no crime on the northern part anyway that we've. And my 8-year-old daughter stays out on her own till 11:30 at night. That's how safe it is.
Right, well, there's probably a lot of people shouting at the radio right now, saying that's not maybe a great idea, but thanks for the advert, David. Cheers, mate. Morocco. Yeah, it's on my list. Dubai, not so very much.
Morocco is very nice.
Yeah. But then you said Dubai was very nice, so what do you know?
Well, last time I went to Dubai, it was all right.
Yeah. Well, what did you do? I mean, what's there to do?
You can do desert safari.
Now, hang on a minute. Let me stop you right there. A desert safari. Right.
When they take you...
Hang on, let me guess. If you go out into the desert, yeah, and what do you see there? Sand. Anything else?
Well, when they say
it's a no, isn't it?
Well, it's not. You don't go out there to view the sand.
Right.
You go out there to ride the dunes.
Sand dunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sand.
Go up and down, and fly over them and stuff. It's very
sand.
Good.
Yeah. Anything other than sand? No.
No, just mostly
just
sand.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What else?
It's got the world's only 7-star hotel.
Oh, who cares? Have you seen the inside of it? It looks like a Gucci handbag on acid. It's horrible. I mean, outside it looks magnificent. Something dreadfully wrong has gone wrong inside. It's
you can just relax on a beach there?
But no, you can't, because you'd explode in a fireball as soon as you set foot outside into the sun.
No, that's only if you go there in the summer months. In our summer months, then it reaches ridiculous heat out there. But if you go in February, it's very nice.
What, snowing, is it?
No, but they do have an indoor...
yeah, isn't that the silliest thing in the
arena.
world? Yeah, it's 50 degrees outside. It's like it's over 100 Fahrenheit, and people are skiing on snow. Yeah, that's really saving the environment.
Well, maybe they won't ever get a chance to see snow.
Yeah, sure they can. They can get on one of their gold-plated private jets and go to their other house in Switzerland, where they keep all their money. Yeah, you're not selling it to me.
I've got nothing else.
I mean, this is a country that's about 10 years old, isn't it? I mean, it has almost no history whatsoever. It's a civilization built on a... here comes the news. This is LBC 97.3. LBC 97.3. It's 9:30. And in this case, it's Steve in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hi, Nick. Or now that you're into The Sopranos, should I call you like Little Nicky or something?
Yeah, Nick the...
Nicky the Mouse.
Nick the Knife.
Yeah, I have to say that I agree with you about the laws in Dubai, and they would prevent me from going there. Although, admittedly, I don't see any point in sending someone to jail for 4 years for having 10 pounds of marijuana, much less 0.003 grams.
Well, that's two different issues, really, isn't it? I mean, if somebody treads in it somewhere and it just happens to be stuck to the bottom of their shoe, then it's properly insane to send them to prison for 4 years. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all.
Consider that in Amsterdam, or anywhere in Holland, that's, you could just walk by a coffee shop and have that happen to you.
That's right.
Yeah,
or the guy that... I'm not sure if this is an urban myth or not. I read it in the paper just the other day on this subject. Some guy who had poppy seeds that fell off a sandwich that he was eating, and he's in jail for that. I mean, come on, these people are off their heads.
If that was a bit of, like, face saving. It's like they suspected the guy of having drugs, and they didn't find anything on
Well, that's a lot of saving face, that he would be in jail for 4 years.
Well, that's the problem with mandatory minimums, because, if you have an ounce of coke, you get 4 years. If you have 0.003 grams of marijuana, you get 4 years.
Yeah. If you have an inflexible law, then there's always going to be injustices, as the 3 strikes and you're out thing in America showed quite clearly, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that guy from Radio 1, the DJ, he was just arrested in Dubai.
That's right.
For having Dubai's worth of weed.
And I'm sure that in Dubai, they thought, oh, right, okay, great, this guy's sort of semi-famous, we'll bang him up and then everyone will get the message. But I think the message that the people are getting is, don't go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Because these people are intolerant and inflexible, and it's not a place to go and take a nice holiday. So they might be shooting themselves in the foot, because the reason that Dubai has built this, what to my eyes looks like this hideous monstrosity, over the last few years, is because they're running out of oil, and the entire country is basically was some tents on an underground lake of oil. And when the oil runs out, they ain't got nothing else. And so they thought, well, we'll take the money that we've made from the oil and we build this sort of fantasy playground.
But the kind of thing that only a wag would like.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks as though the destination that taste ignored.
Yeah, And, it's funny because it seems like the laws are much different in England because, that guy who just got arrested for killing the prostitutes in Ipswich, Steve Wright, he's still got a show on radio, too. But meanwhile, this guy from Radio 1 loses his position.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to make any comments on that.
Okay, Nick. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot, mate. Ta-ra.
Okay, bye.
As long as you don't get us into any trouble, that's excellent. 0845 6060 973. There was an interesting thing about Boris Johnson in the news today. It was a parliamentary sketch about Boris Johnson. What's the feeling about his attempt to turn around his persona? Because there was something of a sea change in the way he presented himself to us relatively recently. Every time you see him on television, even now, you expect him to be, well, the clown, I suppose, wouldn't be an inaccurate description. You just expect him to be funny, because you know him, he's the bloke off the telly who did Have I Got News For You, and he's very amusing, and he's always cracking jokes. Of course, that's not the sort of personality that would get you voted Mayor of London. So he has attempted to make himself come across more seriously. And how successful has that been? The sketch writer in this... pull these things out. Now, this is the Times. Has tackled this. Because apparently something happened yesterday that Boris showed up for, and he made a speech in his new persona. And this is what Anne Treneman said. The new improved Boris Mr. Serious Johnson paid a visit yesterday at the Commons Press Gallery. It's a dangerous place for a politician at the best of times, but Boris likes to think that he is fearless. I'm sure he wanted to show off his personality transplant. He used to be Boris the Clown. But now he's running for Mayor of London, so he's had that chip removed and had one inserted to turn him into Mr. Serious. And when you first saw him being Mr. Serious, it kind of... bells were going off in your mind. You're thinking, this isn't Boris Johnson. When's Boris showing up? It just felt a bit odd. Is it just me? An echoing silence.
I didn't see him being serious.
Yeah, well, since he's started his campaign, he's been more serious. Let me put it like that. It's not all for laughs.
I've not seen the TV okay. whilst he's been on to compare, I'm afraid.
Why was he there at this press gallery? Who knows? To show us how he's changed, to talk about bendy buses. He does seem to have bendy buses on the brain. To eat, don't forget this was a free lunch. Mr. Johnson used to model himself on Bacchus, but now purports to lead a sin-free existence in which a sticky risotto may be his only indulgence. Boris arrived early. This caused a minor panic. He's always late, sometimes spectacularly so, and once specialised in rushing around like a white rabbit. Now there he was, standing at the bar, clutching a glass of tap water. Actually, there's been a sea change, if you'll forgive the unintended pun, about tap water. You can't pick up a paper these days without people shouting at you to order tap water and not bottled. In these stories, as with almost everything else, journalists go in packs. They haven't got a thought in their heads, any more than I have. And they're faced with a blank sheet of paper, and they've got no idea what to write. These poor little poor babes with columns. And it doesn't... I mean, is there a single person in the public eye who hasn't got a column? Me. That's why I write that silly thing at the start of the show. It's my column. And then the rest of it's just off the top of my head. It's one giant column for 2.5 hours. That's the longest column in the world.
You should get a blog going.
No. But yes, and they've all decided to, as one, to write about the politics of tap water, or rather, the politics of bottled water, and tap water being its, the favoured thing to order in restaurants, and it's made the act of ordering tap water in a restaurant seem like you're doing it to save the environment, rather than you just don't want to pay £5 for water. And I felt tight ordering tap, because I've ordered tap water my entire life, much to the disappointment of the eager waiting staff, clutching their little hands together, wondering what I'm going to ask for. Oh, I'll have something free, please. And a 15% discretionary tip on free is still nothing. But now, of course, you feel as though you can do it because it's a fashionable thing to do, protecting the environment, like that. Anyway, he's holding tap water because he's now abstemious. He doesn't drink anymore. He's got a new haircut, so no longer looks quite so much like a haystack that's been attacked by a chainsaw. He has had a new haircut, and when I saw him on TV last, it was such a complicated, a bouffant thing that was going on. His hair, each strand seemed to be going in a different direction. Now, either it looked as though he'd never touched it in his life, or he'd spent 5 hours having it professionally teased to look like that. No in between at all. And I wondered if he was going bald. Because, you know, Donald Trump, that weirdo in America with in the human tonsorial history, nobody's hair has ever looked like that. You can see it and still not know what you're looking at. It's almost like an optical illusion. I've got no idea where the hair comes from or indeed where it ends, but it's as though it's a fondant whip on the top of his head. And I thought that's what Boris Johnson had going on, that it was some sort of complicated construction to hide the fact that he actually didn't have any hair at all. He was combing up the hair that was grown out of his ears, perhaps, or something along those lines. But he cuts his hair off, and you will see that he actually has a fulsome head of hair. Anyway, he's got a new haircut, no longer looks like a haystack that's been attacked by a chainsaw. He's off the booze, and his jacket was buttoned up. All of these things are against type. He then launched with a resounding belly flop into a mayoral campaign speech. It's always been difficult. This is this column, and Trenneman. It's always been difficult to imagine Boris running anything more complicated than a bath. So now he peppers his various plans by saying, "We are going to sort that out, and we are going to get that done." He sounds a bit like one of those motivational therapists cheering himself on and on. He talks of many things, but his main obsession is buses. It is. He seems a bit of a stuck record about buses, doesn't he? Of the bendy type. I mean, quite right, too. It's insane to lop the top off a perfectly good double-decker bus and hinge it on the back. How anybody came up with that in London's tiny, winding streets is a mystery. I mean, if in LA, perhaps, because there are no corners in Los Angeles. They only have straight roads. But here, it bends, it's like a corkscrew. Isn't it? It's like a wiggly snake. And a bendy bus has got to be the silliest thing to stick on it. In it. He is close to being Boris the Bus Spotter. Among his intricate plans for buses is a campaign to stop thugs terrorising the upper deck. I want London where adults, yes, adults, that means all of us in this room are less frightened of kids, he says. Oh, there's something else I want to talk about before I go. I'm going to put it right to the top of the pile. I only saw this in one paper. You have to remind me to read this story here, all right? We'll call it Story A.
Why don't you call it Story X?
I can't, because it's called Story A.
Oh.
The moment when he called himself an adult was a bit of a shock, says Anne Trenneman. Could Boris really be growing up? Later, during the question and answer session, the man, who is no stranger to being exposed in the news of the world, was asked a tough question by a female hack. She said, "How are you going to address the fact that a lot of voters, particularly women voters, will worry that a man who lies to his wife will lie to voters?" What a stupid question. This brought an ooh, like a sharp intake of breath all round. We waited for his usual bumble and bluster. It didn't come. He said, "I don't think that voters really worry about these things in the way that perhaps that the media do." Straight and simple. Not like the Boris the Clown at all. Perhaps the personality transplant has taken. Are we convinced? We will find out. When's the big vote? It's coming up in March, isn't it? Mr. Politics graduate?
I think it's May the 1st.
May the 1st. May the 1st be with you. Obi-Wan. 9:45. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
And problems now in...
Come on, we're running late!
Yes, we certainly are, dear. Thornton Heath. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Nick.
Oh. Hey, Sam.
What's wrong?
Nothing. Now, how are you, Sam?
Not very well.
Oh, I'm glad to hear. I mean, that's
I had
really bad news.
gastroenteritis.
Pardon?
I had gastroenteritis, food poisoning.
Gastroenteritis, right.
Yeah, so you have to be careful when you're abroad because the change in water and climate and everything.
Where have you been?
Nowhere. It was a chicken in the fridge. It was lying there for weeks. I didn't know. And
a chicken in the fridge was lying there for weeks?
Well, a couple of weeks, few weeks. And the whole family ate it, but I was very, very ill with it.
Right. Was that sounds like attempted murder to me.
I know. I did question the person who cooked it, but
Yeah? Really?
I don't think so.
With electrodes?
No.
Right, okay. You sound like you're a bit under the weather.
Yeah, because I was puking up yesterday
Oh, that's
so
nice.
much.
Please, tell us more.
In casualty and everywhere. I was really...
Here, there and everywhere, baby. Spraying it around like a garden
horrible.
hose you were. Yeah,
and they
lovely.
said, we don't want you in hospital. You'll give it to everyone else.
Yeah,
The
quite
nurse
right
was
too.
so harsh.
You went to hospital?
Yeah, casualty, A&E.
Oh, come off
so much,
it.
No, I was in so much pain, cramp and everything, and vomiting and everything. And the nurse said, we can't have you here.
Yeah, you're
There's
ill.
no bed. And there were
We don't
5
want ill
beds,
people
empty
in
beds.
hospital, yeah.
Yeah, there were 5 empty beds. And then she said, there's not a bed here for you. And she put me in a part in A&E, and there were 5 empty beds. And then
But you
she
know what
said,
A&E stands for?
What?
Do you know what A&E stands for?
Accident and emergency.
Accident and emergency. Had you had an
What
accident?
emergency? I felt like I was dying.
Right.
That I was in pain for 3 hours. Can you imagine? It's
Sam,
such a
I've been in pain my whole life.
No, but it's a relief to be pain-free. When you got severe stomach cramp and pain from food poisoning...
Did you call an
all night.
ambulance?
Yeah.
Oh, good grief. You called an ambulance?
Yeah. Well, when you're in so much pain that you're in agony and you're bending over double and you're puking up and everything, it's just really... just the pain wasn't getting better.
And right, an ambulance. Right.
Yeah.
You
I'm a
dialed
regular there. They know-
999.
They know me. I'm a regular there. But so they
Right,
know.
well, aren't there any cab companies in your area? I suppose a cab, that's the last
It's
thing
only
you want
5
in the back
minutes
of your
away
cab,
from
isn't
where I live, the hospital.
Right, okay.
But I couldn't walk it.
Well, no, obviously, that's
and
completely out of
and
question,
puke up all over the streets
yeah.
now.
Best
That's not a nice sight.
puke up
is
in the
it?
back of an
But on the
ambulance.
way back, I did puke up on the road because I was sick again.
Lovely.
Anyway, I'll talk about something else now. I'm so relieved to be pain-free today.
I can only dream of being pain-free, Sam.
You don't sound like you're in pain.
No, I'm brave in that respect. I don't like to complain.
Well, you should. Then you'll get seen to quicker. See?
Right. Yeah.
If you sit in silence and not complain, then
Well, you should try it one time, maybe. Sit in silence. Give it a go, Sam. See how it works for you.
no, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry,
Right,
but if
that's
I'm
right
ill,
out,
I'm
yeah.
ill. And
You
but
gotta
the
spread
nurse
it
was being
around.
a bit harsh with me. She was a bit harsher where she spoke. She
Well, I would
sounded like
think
she
so.
had no sympathy whatsoever.
Yeah,
she was
me
being
either.
very harsh. So I gave as good as I got. I said, what are all these empty beds? She said, they're for the old people.
Yeah.
And the A&E department was half empty.
Yeah,
so
people who are actually, ill.
Yeah, I was very ill, honestly. I'm not lying. I was so ill. It was the worst case of food poisoning ever.
Ever in the history of...
Well, I'm lucky to be alive anyway, so they don't know how bad the pain was, you see.
I thought you explained it to them
I
at length.
did. Yeah, I did.
Right.
That's why they got me into casualty, but it was okay afterwards. The pain got less.
Oh, I'm
got better. And
glad
got
to hear it.
Medicated.
So, what's for dinner? Chicken?
No, I can't eat that ever again now. I don't want to eat chicken again.
Go on, Sam, force yourself.
Because of the association.
How about
with all
chicken
that.
curry?
That's what I had.
Chicken korma? Oh, so
No,
yummy.
I can't eat chicken. I can't even look at a chicken
Can I
now.
interest you in duck?
No, I can't eat eggs. I think
Goose?
maybe I've got salmonella.
How about a
from eggs.
goosey gander?
Maybe I've got Campylobacter or salmonella or...
Oh, yeah,
from
how
eggs.
about a salmonella curry?
No, and I love my fried eggs and boiled eggs. I eat them every single day.
How about kidneys and liver?
Oh, no.
How about kidneys and liver and a raw egg, all whisked together and drunk
right
through a
off
straw?
Spicy food
Oh,
because I've
so
got a
yummy.
sensitive... I've got an irritable bowel and sensitive stomach, so
Well,
I'm off spicy food. It
Irritable
irritates
is certainly a word that comes to mind, yeah.
it. Yeah, so anyway, I'm so relieved to be pain-free today. Yesterday was a nightmare.
Right. I'm in
Such
pain
a
just
nightmare.
listening to it, yeah.
Anyway, let's change the topic.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking I'd like to go to Egypt. You know those pyramids they keep showing on TV? I just want to know how high they are in
Right.
real life.
You want to go and throw up there?
No, just stand up by a pyramid and see how high they are.
See how high
nice.
they are?
Yeah.
About 4'6".
Yeah, but you don't really get to see what they're like until you're standing next to one, really. You don't get to see the...
Magnificence of them?
Yeah, that's it. Right. It's nice to go to countries where there's a wonder of the world in them.
Yeah.
And then see the wonders of the world.
Like what?
Niagara Falls and... what other ones are there? Peru's nice, the Machu Picchu place.
The where?
Machu Picchu. It's
Yeah.
a place like...
That's that place that's on the top of a mountain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Marrakesh. I've never been to Morocco. Marrakesh sounds nice.
Yeah, take the
'Cause I
express.
kept hearing that song in the 70s.
The Marrakesh
and then
Express.
I thought, I want to go there, I want to go there.
yeah.
They're singing
Yeah.
about how nice it is.
That's
so
right.
I haven't got round to that yet, but I'll go with my sister because she's well-travelled, so she knows she's more experienced in travel than
Right, she
I
knows
am.
where to get the tickets.
Yowza.
Yeah, but the hassle is at the airports, you know. You know, the hassle is you don't want to lose your luggage or when you're there you don't want to get gastroenteritis or anything like that.
You don't want to
what
get
I mean?
asked to hop up on the couch and, hands and knees
I
and
don't
relax.
go into
No.
the hospital and that's the hassle about travelling on the airport, and then when you're there you've got to adjust to the climate and the food. And
Oh, don't mention the food, Sam.
make sure you don't get ill out there. If you come back and you haven't got ill or anything, and then you can say you've had a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, I'm being so negative today, aren't I?
Well,
It's after yesterday, you know.
I know,
right off
close to
food.
death you were, yeah. You had to
Yeah, I
call an
love
ambulance.
food.
That's what I heard.
I love my food, but I'm right off food now. I'm going to have to change my diet to healthy food.
Right. And how do you expect that to go?
It won't be long before I start eating the same old
cake
things
again,
again.
yeah.
But it wasn't the cake that poisoned me. It was that chicken.
Close the
that had
door and step away from the fridge, Sam.
That chicken might have had bird flu now, and maybe I don't know.
Was it sneezing?
No,
right.
it was dead. But
Well, I'm sorry to have revelled in your misfortune, Sam, but the best of luck for the weekend. I hope it goes well. All right. Cheers, my dear. Hey, Raj, what we talked about tonight?
Well, I'm going to have to tell you, but you have to do your live read first.
My what? Oh. Join James O'Brien all next week for Real Energy Week. It's your chance to talk about the real issues concerning energy conservation. He's going to be finding about new technologies, how to keep our cities cleaner, and the scientific know-how that we must equip our children with. So, listen all next week to James O'Brien for Real Energy Week with Shell, working together for a responsible energy future.
Is there much point me even doing this now?
Not really, no. What a tremendous end to the show. Super duper as always. This is LBC.